Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Sorry I've been gone for a minute, but this video will kind of explain part of why I've been so busy and not really able to be on YouTube as much or have time to edit and film. That's really the problem. As you saw by the title, I did get 3 rats and I'll explain throughout the video why I got them and where I got them from and so on and so forth. But first, I would like to ask you to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also if you are interested in my merch or ever have been interested but didn't have money at the time or just didn't feel like it was the right choice, maybe it was too expensive for you, whatever it is, I am going to be having a sale for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So from Thanksgiving until the Tuesday after Cyber Monday, all of my merch will be 20% off. So I will include the code down below with the link. The link is always there, but I'll include the code right beneath it in case it's something you're interested in. So with all that said, let's just get right into the video. So this video has kind of a sad start because the only reason I got new rats is because I lost one. You probably have seen Remy and Finn on my channel. In fact, when I first got them, I introduced them to YouTube. They're the first rats I ever got to really introduce to YouTube because all the other rats I had already had before I started YouTube. But I've been keeping rats for a long time, since like 2013. And I lost Remy. So in September, one morning he just wasn't acting like himself. I already had a vet appointment scheduled for him and his brother Finn for like a week out because they were getting older. You know, they were about to be 2 years old and I was like, it's time to go get an exam for them both. And Remy died later that afternoon. He just passed away. And I came in the room like, I feel like only minutes after he had passed because he was still warm and he was cuddled up with his brother and he just looked like he was sleeping, but I could tell obviously he was not just sleeping. And I was really devastated. Remy wasn't even 2. And I've never lost a rat under 2 years old. My youngest that I've ever lost before him was 2 years and 3 months. And my longest I've ever had was 3 years and 4 months. And so to lose one under 2 years was not only alarming and sad and confusing, but it was really unexpected. And it left me in the position of having one lone rat. So I was left with the decision to either rehome Finn to someone who had a group of rats that he could just join, or I would have to get brothers for him and go through introductions and all that to let him have brothers, because rats cannot be kept alone. Let me just reiterate that. Rats cannot be kept alone. I put out a message on Instagram and YouTube and Twitter that I lost Remy, that he passed away, and that I wasn't gonna have rats anymore and that I was rehoming Finn. Now, this is something people have kind of like made fun of me for or like held against me because I ended up getting more rats. I get it because I changed my mind. But I just want to warn you, I do this every time a rat dies because it's so painful and it hurts. It's like grieving extra every time. So like the first time you lose a rat is sad, and then every time after it just gets more sad. It's like an accumulation of grief because it just brings you back to the last one that died. So because I didn't receive any feedback and I couldn't find any situation that would be good to place Finn in, and because his vet trip went really well when the time came for him and Remy to go to the vet and Remy had passed, I was even more eager for his appointment because I wanted to make sure he was fine, and the vet gave him like good marks on all his health, listened to his lungs and his heart and said they sounded great. Like just checked him out generally and said he was fine. I told my vet I had decided to get him brothers and that I had already found some, and that after a quarantine period that they would all meet. And the quarantine period, some people will wonder why I quarantined the boys from Finn, and it's because they could pass something to him. You know, they're babies from a situation that is not normal, like they're not from my house. They could bring something that they could give to him, and because he's old, it could affect him even more so and he could die. You know, he's like a weaker immune system because he's old. Quarantine is essential. Like, please quarantine your pets. So he was alone for a number of weeks, which, you know, stinks. It's not ideal, but he does have brothers and he is living with them right now. So I want to tell you about his brothers and the process of, it's been a long few weeks. I'll tell you why. So first I found them on Craigslist, and I had found a couple other situations that didn't like pan out, like one of the situations was 2 older rats. They were about a year old, and I kind of wanted to go for younger ones just for the ease of introductions. And then another situation I found, the person was just kind of not giving me the feedback that I wanted, not timely responses, not lengthy responses, and I was like, I don't really trust the situation, so I dipped on that. But then I did come across the boys that I have now. So the person that I got the boys from had taken a group of girl and boy rats that were housed together, which is a major no-no, because, I mean, unless they're all spayed and neutered, because you're gonna have lots of babies. I think they said they had 30 rats, which is just, that's a lot of rats. 30 at one time is a lot of rats, okay? That's just... Who's sawing? Well, apparently he has no intention of stopping, and neither do I, so you're just gonna have to listen to the stupid noise in the background. My neighbor is sanding a piece of wood. So then this individual was obviously looking to rehome all the babies and wanted to keep the adults, so I agreed on 3 of the boys. Aaron picked one of them, he picked Alfie. I picked Pip, and together we chose Ollie, although we were also kind of stuck on a different one that was kind of similar looking to Ollie, but not really. Like, they had some differences in their markings, and so I was going back and forth. I had 4 pictures saved. I had Pip and I had Alfie saved, and then I had the rat who I don't have, and then I had Ollie. And so I eventually chose Ollie, and it's kind of interesting in terms of fate that happened, because Ollie was actually really sick when I got him. I went to Chicago to get them. That's where I found the ad. And the day of Tinley Park is when we picked them up. When I first saw Ollie, I knew something was wrong with him because of the way he was postured. So he basically was like hunched over with his back really arched, and I immediately knew, oh no, that's not good. Now, I didn't know that Ollie was sick before I saw him. I only noticed upon seeing him for the first time. So you might be wondering, why didn't I just choose a healthy rat, like swap out Ollie with a different one? Simply put, we chose Ollie. You know, it's like when you choose a pet, you don't know everything you're getting into. You know, they could have a different personality than you wanted, they could have a different health that you wanted or that is ideal. And we chose Ollie. We weren't gonna swap him out and leave him behind just because we wanted to have a healthy one. But I don't fault anybody who has that mentality, by the way, because I totally get where that idea comes from. But for me personally, I chose Ollie, and we were gonna stick it out with him no matter what happened. I immediately noticed his hunch posture, like I said. We put the cage in the car, we buckled it in for safety. Throughout the night, I got to listen to more of him than I did in the car, because, you know, if the car, there's all the noise of like travel and traffic and just regular outside noises. But in my bedroom, I got to hear a lot more of what he sounded like, and there was clicking and popping, and he was wheezing, all the horrible signs of a respiratory infection or respiratory distress. And I was like really upset by it, because I know that RIs are super bad for rats, and with baby rats especially, because I've had baby rats before. I had Billy and Patrick as babies, but they had never been sick. So for me to see a sick baby, I was like, oh, that's not good. So we took him to the vet 8 a.m. the next morning, had him examined, and I brought his brothers along too, just, you know, moral support and comfort. I just brought all 3 of them. The vet techs all came in to see the babies, and it was super nice. So my vet held Ollie, gave him an exam, listened to his breathing, his heart, listened to any sounds in his lungs, which she could hear from across the room. So with a stethoscope, I imagine it's much clearer. But she said that he had an RI, obviously, and that he may have pneumonia. And she was very straight with me, which I appreciate. But she said that he might die, and that he also might live, and that if he lives, he might have respiratory problems for the rest of his life. And I was like, okay. Great. So we pretty much just decided to do what we could for Ollie and not get too hung up on the fact that he might not live. So at this point in time, Ollie didn't have a name. We were still picking names for the boys, and Ollie took the longest, I think, because maybe there was some reluctance to name him because we weren't sure if he would live. But he did get a name just a couple days later. And then when I called the vet back to do a check-in, I was like, this is his name, you can put it on there, because his name on his medication was Rat Fennin. So when I went to pick up his medication, I gave my birthday, and she's like, oh, I don't recognize that in our registry. And I was like, what? Because they had asked for my birthday when I went there. And then they were like, oh, are you Rat Fennin? And I was like, that's... what? Because I didn't know they had put it in as that. So Rat Fennin was his name, and it's a really funny joke around the house because his medication would sit in the kitchen, and so like everybody would, you know, see it, and they were like, Rat Fennin. I was like, that's me. The vet prescribed Ollie a medication, an oral medication, an antibiotic, and if that one didn't work, that we were going to try 2 others, and that she would like to see improvements from him within a matter of days. And definitely within a week, and if he hadn't improved, then we'd try the other 2. She said she was hesitant to put him on antibiotics because apparently in young rats, if you give them antibiotics, it can like mess up their joints as they grow, but that we had absolutely no choice because he needed them. The good news is he responded to the antibiotics, and he is still with us today, a good 4 or 5 weeks later. Oh, it's 5 weeks today, so 5 weeks now. Kept him in quarantine from Finn for the 3 weeks of his antibiotics and then a solid week after, just to make sure everything was good before I let them meet. Giving Ollie the medication the first like few days was really stressful and really difficult because I kept struggling to find a way for him to take it, both when it comes to food, when it comes to the location of where he would take it, and because he was weaker, he ate so much slower than the others, and so I kept having to take him out of his enclosure, put him in a temporary enclosure to let him eat it, and then put him back in. And that would stress him out every time, and he would spend like the first 15 minutes just like hiding and being sad, and then he'd spend the next 15 minutes eating his snack, and then he could go back, and that was twice a day for 3 weeks. Eventually, I got used to it, and everything was fine, and he got used to it, and he started eating it faster. And now he's of course off medication, and he's living with Finn. They've all been introduced. Introductions went really, really well in terms of like them meeting in the bathtub, and then after they met in the bathtub, then they went into a small cage together. That went really well. Finn allowed them to groom him. I introduced them to their triple critter nation, which actually will be a separate video because my rat cage now touches my ceiling almost. It's huge. So that is the story of how I got new rats. And I will of course feature them more on this channel as time goes on. In fact, my next 2 videos are going to be rat based. So this probably will be the first one, then the second one will be the giant cage, which is just, it's impressive on all standards. They're actually not in the pet room anymore either, they're in my bedroom, and that's for a very important reason, which is introductions can go not so great, and so I really wanted to be able to hear them all throughout the night in my bedroom. Plus, I used to have my rat cage in my bedroom, and I liked having it in there, so I decided to rearrange my furniture and put the cage back in there. So the pet room looks kind of different now, and I'll show that in another video, and you might even notice these are new. And then my rat cage is now in my bedroom, so you'll see that as time comes. I'm still working on some things before I can actually give you guys a full tour, but it'll be awesome when the time comes. Then the third video you guys will see will be a full tour of the rat cage, all the toys, where I got them all. Don't hit the tripod! Oh, he hit the tripod anyway. Come here, Jackson. Oh. You say thank you for watching? Thank you for watching my mom who doesn't ever stop talking. Yeah, say thank you. Look how sweet. Oh, don't fuss, don't fuss. Just look at everybody how sweet those eyes are. He's so sweet. Thank you, so sweet. Okay, I'll let you go down. Goodbye. Goodness gracious. Oh, he'll just keep his butt on me so I can scratch his butt. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys really soon for that giant cage tour video. Bye.